Oh, the humanity, ladies and gentlemen of the F1 jury. We have breaking news, kind of, because it's still very much rooted in speculation and conjecture. Word on the F1 curb, if indeed that's something that you can be invested in. It's going to get techie, this, because the Daily Mail, for the avoidance of doubt, not one of the most reputable sources as far as news of the F1 variety, but yet and still they've run this as an exclusive courtesy of Jonathan McAvoy, and you've got to talk to it. Why? Well, because here is the broader context. Max Verstappen is the prized asset on the F1 grid, the quickest, worth anywhere up to 2 to 3 tenths by as per F1 insiders and or team principals. 4, maybe soon to be 5-time champion, depending on who you talk to. Aston Martin have been sniffing around Max Verstappen, as have others. Mention no names, Toto, the boy who cried wolf, for the longest time with this front and centre of mind. They've signed themselves one Adrian Newey, and he will know firsthand that Maximilian Verstappen, in having him as part of your team, there is lap time. Adrian Newey will not want to go down without a fight, and so he will want to align himself more with a Max Verstappen than an aging Fernando Alonso, and so too, of course, the laggard, the F1 flotsam and jetsam that is Lance Stroll. Here's why that has to matter. Because, of course, Toto, the boy who cried wolf, still super keen to get his hands on one Maximilian Verstappen, but Lawrence Stroll, Papa Stroll is 2. You'll recall a couple livery launches ago, Lawrence Stroll said words to this effect: when I get passionate about something, I win. And if that means building a £250 million factory, then that's what it will mean. If that means bringing online a £50 million wind tunnel by dint of Aston Martin, then that's what it will mean. If that means going forward, signing one Maximilian Verstappen on a 5-year, $1 billion Great British bound contract, then that is what it will mean. We know already 2018 settings, there were performance clauses in Maximilian Verstappen's contract. Jos Verstappen saw Max as a loan out to Red Bull. If by 2020, 2021, Red Bull, the Bulls that are red, hadn't built Max Verstappen a car capable of winning races and therefore championships, Max Verstappen would have been bounced. Oh, and by the way, we know that in real time, Max hasn't been happy with the car, the RB20 last year, by dint of its understeer, very temperamental, mercurial settings. Pierre Vacher, Mark Hughes has told us that Max Verstappen was something of a blindfold, paping over the mechanical and aerodynamic cracks even that so came to epitomise and represent the foibles and the travails of the RB20 iteration. Keep that front and centre of your mind as we go through this article, courtesy of Jonathan McAvoy of the Daily Mail. Here's what he has to say. The headline reads thus: Aston Martin target Max Verstappen in a £1 billion deal for Red Bull's 4-time world champion to turn F1 on its head after signing up 20 million a year star Adrian Newey. Oh, the humanity, chap. Should we get into this? Rumour and speculation, of course. We're not breaking any news proper, but I think we need to take this considerably seriously, even if indeed you are invested in F1 Apothenere connecting dots investigation settings. Here's what they say. Aston Martin are telling sponsors that Max Verstappen will join them in their ambitious bid to win a world title in a £1 billion deal that will be one of the biggest in sports history. What are we doing here, chat? Oh, the humanity, for real, a $1 billion deal potentially. Not that this is happening, it's not signed, but they're telling people that it will happen. Stakeholders of the key variety. And if Aston Martin are saying that to people, then you've got to take it seriously, right? Lawrence Stroll won't hesitate, as would one Toto, the boy who cried wolf, to get themselves a Maximilian Verstappen, and these conversations are happening in real time. Lest we forget, Toto, the boy who cried wolf, had conversations with Team Verstappen at the Miami Grand Prix and over the course of the summer break. Ergo, this is a thing that one would need to take seriously if indeed one is serious about Formula One. The Daily Mail continues. The four-time world champion's contract could be worth up to $1 billion across the remainder of his career and would almost certainly include equity in the Silverstone-based team. Equity? This is exactly what they offered to Adrian Newey, is it not? The article continues. Mail Sport, and again, all F1 publications are created equal E, but some are created more equal than others. The Mail Sport has been told that Jefferson Slack, a close lieutenant of Aston Martin's Canadian billionaire owner Lawrence Stroll, has recently made pitches to potential investors claiming that the 27-year-old Dutchman will be joining them. Not maybe, not potentially, but at some point in a not too distant future, that Max Verstappen will be an Aston Martin driver. Alongside whom, by the way? Will Fernando Alonso need to retire? Will Lawrence Stroll sack his flotsam and jetsam son of an F1 driver? So many questions, so few answers. The Mail Sport continues. That is a firm desire rather than a certain fact for now. Verstappen has stated within the last few weeks that he would ideally see out his illustrious career at Red Bull, where he was wrought all his consecutive successes and is contracted until 2028. Now, let me tell you this. Whilst Max Verstappen is nothing if not a truthsayer, anytime you saw last year during 2024 season, anytime press and media would put a mic in front of Max's face and ask him, what do you need to stay on at Red Bull through to the end of your contract, 2028, he would say he needed two things: harmony, semblance of harmony at the very least, and a car capable of winning races and therefore championships. Which one of those two, chat, could you argue that he has as of the 16th of the 1st, 2025? The prosecution rests no further questions, Your Honour. Henceforth, we need to take this sort of rumour, conjecture very, very seriously. Of course, if you're serious about Formula One. That is a firm desire rather than a certain fact. However, Verstappen's outstanding talent marks him out as the single commodity, the single most valuable commodity that all team bosses would most dream of enlisting, not least a serial winner in business like fashion mogul Stroll. Of course he would want him. Of course Lance Stroll will be after him. What better guarantee? Look, I would argue as of January of 25 that there are two guarantees of Formula One success, if indeed that's a thing. A going concern, something that you can talk to substantively real. One, Adrian Newey, as far as one of the goatiest aerodynamic minds who have ever aerodynamic, legendary settings, man who can see airflow, last of the airbenders. Two, as far as a peddler, Max Verstappen at the ripe old age of 27. Bloody Nora, the two of them combine the symbiosis of the humanity. Yeah, you can throw Lewis Hamilton in there, but how much longer is Lewis Hamilton going to hang around for? Therein lies the difference, if indeed Objectivity PLC is the company in which we want to be invested. Verstappen currently earns some £50 million a year. Only 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton, starting at Ferrari this year, matches that figure, potentially exceeding it when bonuses are added on. It would take serious money to prize away the sport's top driver, perhaps up to £200 million a year. Some of that, of course, will be paid in equity, making Maximilian Verstappen, like his friend Adrian Newey, an owner, a shareholder, a principal one of Aston Martin F1. Verstappen is the only man in the sport who can practically name his own price by dint of the 2 to 3 tenths that so many insiders up and down the F1 grid say that the Dutchman, forcing to be 5-time champion, is worth. Aston Martin have been in casual contact with the Verstappen camp, though most concerning their endurance racing program. So not talking about F1 necessarily, but I don't believe that for a second. The Verstappens are likely to keep an open mind for now, weighing up their next move. Red Bull built Ford-backed engine. Yeah, we don't need to read the rest of that. Here's what they're being told, that this is critical and techier than techie things. A source with knowledge of the situation said of Slack, Aston Martin's managing director, commercial and marketing, Jefferson, or Jeff as others know him, has been going around saying that Max is going to be joining Aston Martin. It may be a ploy, adding extra value to the deal that he wants to do, but bringing Max in also makes perfect sense. They have signed Adrian Newey on 20 million a year as the greatest designer of all time, and Lawrence won't let that be the last of it. He has said that he wants to win a world title and he won't let anything stand in his way. You'll recall when I get passionate about things, I win, said Lawrence Stroll. He wants to end the dominant era headed by Christian Horner at the Bulls that are red and Toto the boy who cried wolf. Yes, he said that in those terms. Of course he did. Adrian, continues the article, is believed to think, and here's where it gets techier than techie things, prioritising conflicting demands, stakeholder settings. Adrian is believed to think that Lance Stroll, son of owner Lawrence, is not a good enough driver, and that Fernando El Plan Alonso, man from Oviedo, Asturias, at 43 years of age, is too old. Adrian is determined to make a success of himself yet again and wants to work with only the best. They gave Adrian a shareholding to get him over from Red Bull, and they could conceivably do the same to Max. Asked for a response from an Aston Martin spokesman, they firmly denied that Slack had made any approaches based on Verstappen potentially joining them. The spokesman underlined that both Stroll Jr. and Alonso have contracts for this year and for next. Let me tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, of course Aston Martin are going to come out and deny it, for they won't want to jeopardise the deal in kind. Of course, Aston Martin will be in for Maximilian Verstappen, knowing all the while that that dude can be worth anywhere up to, on average, 2 to 3 tenths. Of course, they will be in for Max Verstappen, the youngest, hungriest lion on the grid, 4, maybe soon to be 5-time champion. Of course, Lawrence Stroll, wanting to win, will understand that his line of least resistance goes through signing one Maximilian Verstappen. How do you know that? Because they've been having conversations all the while. They will have met with Maximilian Verstappen and his team Raymond Vermeulen, father of Max Yoss, over the summer break, just as did Toto the boy who cried wolf at the Miami Grand Prix. These conversations are happening in real time. Max Verstappen, to anyone that will listen, has said that he's not here for a long time. He's only here for a good time. He'll go and do something else, drive sim cars, LMP2, another Formula, IndyCar, whatever it may be. If indeed, per Max Verstappen, Red Bull fail to give him what he needs as critical success factors, 2 things: a semblance of a team harmony, so too the team personnel, intellectual property capable of building himself, the second portion of this equation, a car capable of winning races and therefore championships. If he doesn't get either of those 2 and or both of those 2, Max Verstappen will be gonzo. He will leave Red Bull at the drop of a hat, potentially to fulfill this prophecy from the Mail and Jonathan McAvoy, and join himself the Green Machine, courtesy of Lawrence Stroll. The team that they call Aston Martin. What are we doing here?